standard assignments. So.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Whoever created the recording, Lifesaver, thank you so much. Any other questions before we move to multi-watch? And then I have an announcement. Okay. So here goes. So the multi-watch is a special assignment that we wanted to check, where we wanted to check your, I would say, out of the box thinking, a little bit of like, you're looking into efficiency of the system implementation and so on. Now this multi-watch is sort of independent of the rest of the parts due to that very reason. That's sort of an assignment which is real implementation and out of the box implementation. So to that end, you don't, in multi-watch, you don't need to consider a few things, just logically speaking. First is that the multi-watch output need not to be piped into other comments, because what is the objective of multi-watch? The multi-watch's objective is that you have given a bunch of comments. They will just run the comments only once and check, basically monitor those comments. As they are printing anything, the multi-watch comment will show it in the terminal, and then multi-watch will exit either if all the comments exited or you put a control C. Note that this is a little bit different than watch comment, but the idea of multi-watch is just, it is like it's a watcher process that watches and shows all the output from a bunch of other processes. So with this ideation, with this bigger level, higher level ideation, multi-watch, like piping whatever is multi-watch's output is, it doesn't really make too much sense. We haven't mentioned it. You don't need to implement it. It's also complicated, and I don't even know whether it is useful. You don't need to put multi-watch into background, because if you have a watcher process, that is, I will watch all this output of these comments, why would I put it into background? I want to put it in the foreground itself. So the background pipe, all those assignments, they have nothing to do with multi-watch. Multi-watch is a standalone assignment where you are going to watch a bunch of processes using system calls, forking, and essentially show the user what those processes are up to by showing their outputs. Now, one thing that multi-watch comment might want to do is that you can actually have say 50 processes you want to run using multi-watch. You run them, and at latter point of time you can, or you might want to come back to the output of those programs. They computed something. So you might want to have one thing that you should have, I guess, is that the multi-watch commands, the output should be redirectable to a file for future. But pipe, no, like you don't need to use multi-watch in conjunction with pipe. You don't need to put multi-watch in conjunction with background process. That doesn't sound very useful. But redirect, only thing that sounds useful is redirection to a file. So please implement that. And remember that in multi-watch, don't pull all the processes indefinitely, infinitely. Multi-watch is a watcher process which will just watch the working of 50 processes. It is not going to restart each process once it's started. Okay. So multi-watch is somewhat independent of rest of the assignments. I put these clarifications in MS Teams, but if you have few more questions on multi-watch, please tell. I have an announcement after that regarding this, but let's actually handle questions first. So on multi-watch, you have, just to reiterate, you have a stopping condition on, like, if all the comment, like one comment, each comment should run only once, just like it will execute on your terminal. When all the comments when all the comments are finished execution, your multi-watch should end. Or additionally, if you press Ctrl C, the multi-watch should end. You don't need to put multi-watch output to a pipe to something else. Multi-watch is a standalone comment. And finally, you don't need to put multi-watch into background processes, because multi-watch, the whole idea of multi-watch is to show the user what is going on. You do need to, the last one, you do need to redirect the output of multi-watch to a file for future processing. Yes, I think.
So, sir, that is a difference between multi-watch and watch, because
Yes,
the
that
way
is
watch works, it is not redirectable anywhere. It will probably fail immediately.
absolutely true. That is the difference between watch and multi-watch, and watch also runs the process infinitely. We are not talking about that. Multi-watch will just watch this, or not watch, that's a very bad loaded term then. Multi-watch will just monitor these processes that you are giving and putting their output together. Okay, I have a question, I believe. Can the comments in multi-watch take input? Very good question, Jayant. No. It's just assume that no taking input, but only multi-watch will just show the output. Let's make it simple. Like multi-watch cannot take input.
So, and also, sir, multi-watch would be a shell built in. It is not a separate program that we compile and call from the shell.
Yes, it has to be shell built in. So that is your shell's special functionality.
Okay, sure, sir.
Okie dokie. Anything else? We are almost at the end. I have an announcement though. So before that, I want to make sure that you guys are on the same page and this is doable. Like you understand it well enough that you have an idea that what to do. The same thing is also conveyed to all the TAs. So they should be able to help you out with giving bits and pieces of hint information and also thinking together. So talk to them. Now, the announcement. So first assignment, the leaderboard should come out soon. There are 2-3 groups which haven't been evaluated yet due to various reasons, notwithstanding something unforeseen circumstances. So we would get to them. Now for the assignment 2 also, what we are getting is, like in this whole fiasco of explaining the different parts and what should be and what should not be there, what features should be there in your shell and what should not be. One thing we realized is that a couple of groups, or many of you actually, right, actually thought of features to implement features that is not implemented in your shell. For example, I guess one of the things is about this exit command to exit the shell, right? What we decided is the following. Let's have a leaderboard for this assignment also, but no bonus marks. I'll come to that. Uh, the leaderboard will only enumerate the extra features. So you have to tell your TAs like the extra features that you implemented, because because of your rationale. Like if you feel like this is something that your shell should have, you implement 1, 2, 3, 4 features, and essentially you tell that to your TA. We note it down. We would clean it up. Like if you basically say that if you actually have a feature which sounds very rustic, something which is not which is extremely straightforward, then possibly it's not a feature but a requirement. However, if you have a new command, if you actually did something interesting, like you actually made the performance really good, you use some specific data structure, and you actually have, for example, in your history search, you used couple of searching algorithms, one for very large history, one for very small history, and switch it between, something which is cool, tell it to your TAs, they'll note it down, and we'll release a list of new features and a leaderboard of how many features and what features did they implement. The maximum number of features. I mean, it's basically sorted by the groups which implemented maximum number of extra features in the shell. And we would only get to that, of course, if a lot of groups are doing it. If only 2 or 3 groups are doing it, then it doesn't really make much sense. At least 10 groups should do it, right? Otherwise, what's the meaning of competition? Or even bragging rights. So if you have done something, I'm sure that many of you already thought of doing it or doing it already. Tell your TS specifically, they will note it down and we'll have leaderboard. The leaderboard doesn't pertain you any marks, okay? The top 5, for example. However, it will pertain you 2 things. One is bragging rights. You created a shell on your own with extra features that no more shell in the world has, and it works. And the second one is that we are thinking to actually put an award for the set of best systems development groups at the end of the course based on the leaderboards that comes through different assignments. Is that acceptable? There's nothing competitive about it, because as you might have seen that we actually saw in the first assignment, mixing marks actually created problems for all of you, and it is like, it's getting a little bit, you guys get a little bit too competitive. Let's make it more in some sense naive. You'll get a leaderboard, you have bragging rights, and you will get an award. Nothing special, nothing official, but something that you can tell that you win that your top 5 teams of your course. But it won't really affect your marks, not anymore. Be in the leaderboard or not.
So is it features that are not present in any shell? Like,
No,
there are
no.
lots of shells and they have.
Absolutely, Deep. Good question. No, it is just the features which are not asked in this assignment. We cannot ask you to, because there are at least 50 shells. I can remember 10. And I'm not going to ask you to go and survey and implement something that no one else. Do something. When you do systems development, you do something because you feel it should be there, not because anyone else hasn't done it. That is also a reason, but if you feel it should be there, implement it. And you can implement it, of course. So your boundary is within this assignment, and which is a useful new feature rather than some little tweak on making this assignment or while doing this assignment. Like, for example, I won't really say like putting space before or after pipe is a feature. However, if you can handle, for example, new line separated commands directly from command line, that is a feature. You cannot do it in your shell either. Okay. Okay, that would be all. Let's wait for 2 minutes to see. Speak up if you have any questions, or go ahead to go for coding. Talk to your tutors. Very important. Talk to us. Thanks a lot for approaching us. We really enjoy these discussions. And let's do this. Questions. We'll wait for next 2 minutes to say, and you will speak up in that if you have. Okay, I guess I'm not going to stop you guys, but Saptarshi, do you want to add something to it before we conclude? Okay. So, see you guys, and keep hacking.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
So can we expect an extension in this assignment?
That will depend on similar protocol. Basically posted in MS Teams, show like how many groups actually needed by just liking it, and we would know, what percentage of the class is requiring this, because just to be fair, if we are helping the majority.
Okay,
So
sir.
one small point. So the question, like, it's one thing to ask, can we have an extension for this assignment? It's another thing to ask, can we expect an extension for the assignment? My advice to you is don't expect extensions.
Yeah.
It's not necessary that every time you request, we have to say, yes, we will extend it. It's a risky thing to expect. But yeah, I mean, depending on what feedback we get, we know that maybe there are other subjects and so on. So we do take those into account. But again, please don't start late expecting that every assignment will be extended by some days. Fine, I think nothing else, right?
No, I think that could be all.
Okay then, thanks.
Okay, bye bye.